Well, actually, I was born and raised in Wageningen, in the east of the Netherlands, and I was from a small university town where the focus was mainly on life sciences. And when I was 18, I realized immediately I wanted to go to Amsterdam because I wanted to know how the social world is working. And in Amsterdam, I studied international relations. So a study which focuses a lot on who gets what, when, where, and how. And I really liked these studies. I did my bachelor's in it and my master's. In between, I went to Istanbul to study half a year abroad, and I also did a board year in a student association. And I really liked the amount of knowledge that I got in my studies. But somehow I always had this feeling that something was missing. So I wasn't really personally appealed to that study. I wasn't really involved myself. It was like something outside of me, which was knowledge-based, which I had to integrate into my brain, and then a couple of times per year I was tested on that amount of knowledge. So I felt in two ways kind of alienated. Like personally, I wasn't involved, and secondly, I didn't have the idea that we were really working on making society a better place or trying to solve big challenges of our time. So at that moment I had this realization, okay, I was now 6 years at my studies, but actually I never thought about what my own values are or in which situations I can cooperate easily or what my downfalls or shortcomings are or what my qualities are. And of course I was put in project groups to work at university, but we never talked about, okay, how can we work together in a sustainable way, in a way that all these different egos or personalities can cooperate instead of clash. So I had this realization, and then I thought, okay, well, maybe this has to do, or for sure this has to do with this feeling of alienation I had in university. So why not try to gather some people around me who are also having or had this feeling of alienation and also think that university can be much more than it offers these days. And we said, okay, what if we could make university or schools in general, which you also later said, a place where more holistic development can take place. Not just the cognitive knowledge development, but also personal development and development which enables students to create positive social change. This was a very interesting time. This was in the beginning of 2015. So in the spring of 2015, we brought for the first time together this whole group of around 60 people. So students, alumni, teachers, entrepreneurs, artists, and we said to them, we all know we share this feeling of alienation and we all think that it can be so much better. So we are not going to write critical articles, we're not going to occupy university buildings, we're going to make our own program. And this was the first program which was offered by the later then called Bildung Academie. And this program was a half-year program in which we gave students the opportunity to study a semester at the Bildung Academie next to their normal education. Well, fast forward, where are we now? Now we're in 2019, late spring of 2019, and Bildung Academie has right now more than 700 alumni, and we offer different programs within other educational institutions, and we offer different programs from our own institution. These programs are all around Bildung. I will come to the concept later. Besides that, we help to integrate Bildung into current educational system. So we have different partnerships with hogescholen, universities, but also practical schools, how they can really didactically and pedagogically integrate Bildung into their existing programs. And furthermore, we We offer not only programs to students, but also to professionals, to young professionals, who have, for example, questions around meaning in their life, or how they can contribute to a different kind of world, or have personal development questions which they cannot address or didn't address before in their lives. And we have programs for teachers, because teachers in the end are the ones who can make or destroy education. And teachers themselves also have a developmental urge, or at least most of them, I believe. And we also work with them. How do we see Bildung more concrete? We see Bildung as consciously and actively relating to yourself, the other, and the world. So, consciously relating to yourself is about the big questions. Who am I? What are my values? Who's the other? What are the values of the other person? How can I work together with that other person, even though we are different, or even though we are very similar? Secondly, how is the world around me influencing me? And how do I influence the world around me? How was I shaped by the way I was raised? How was I shaped by the money system, by my religion, by being an atheist? And thirdly, and this is the active part in the description I gave of Bildung, consciously and actively relating to yourself, the other, and the world. If you have this basic idea of who you are, what your values are, who the other person is, and a basic idea of how society works, how you are influenced by society, how you influence society yourself, what do you want to make? Where do you want to work? What do you want to achieve? With who do you want to do that? That's the very important third part of Bildung. So how can you make the change that you want to see? Or how can you enforce a certain type of institution which is already there, or enlarge it, or enhance it? And this way of looking at the world, and this way of looking at education, for us is really a thing that works in this time. Well, most of our programs are based on 3 domains. So the first domain is ik en de ander, the other and me. Second domain is erfschat, or in English heritage. And third domain is transitie in Dutch. Within those 3 domains, we offer different courses. We use these themes or courses as a place where people can develop themselves. So we didn't choose, for example, for different skills as courses, or for thing like happiness as a course, but we really chose to have this knowledge-based approach also within our programs. So the names of the courses reflect more or less the knowledge also that you will get there. And then within these 3 domains and within these different courses you follow, students make 50% of their own education, and we offer 50% of the education. So students, for example, make their own learning objectives, which skills they want to develop, or which knowledge they want to get, or how they would like to become a different person, in which way, on which levels. We have we also make this difference within the courses between skills and competencies. A skill is that you can make a good PowerPoint, or that you can tell a logical story to somebody else. And a competence is that you really become rhetorically better. So you become a more expressive person than you were before. On the competence level, you really integrate the skills in your character or in your personality. So we have a lot of skills, but we have 4 competencies. Skills depending on the group of students, or on the developmental questions they have, or depending on the teachers, are different throughout every course. First, and that's the one we all know, is the critical analysis. Most mostly the analysis part. We do it already very well in current universities and existing schools, like how to think logically, how to analyze different subjects, how to make a paper in a scientific way about it, how to do structured research. The critical part doesn't happen everywhere, but this critical notion together with analysis is very important for us, because this critical notion is also about what are the power structures under this knowledge, or how can I check whether this analysis is really suited for this case, or how can I check whether this knowledge that I got, if it's coming from a correct source or that it's not manipulated. So first competence is critical analysis. Second one is empathy. And with empathy we mean the ability to, at least for a short moment, transform yourself or transpose yourself into the feelings, thoughts, and interests of another person or organization or group of persons. This is a thing which I believe is really lacking. Of course, there was positive exemptions where it is present, this development of empathy and becoming a more compassionate person. Third is ethics, and not so much ethics as this is what Plato said and this is what Aristotle said, but more ethics regarding what do I think is a just decision, or what are the consequences of the decision that I make, and looking at different moments in your life where you were, for example, under pressure to make a very uneasy choice or a thing which you really regret, and trying to develop this ethical framework of values and norms, which of course changes throughout your whole life, but getting conscious about those norms you have today and developing a certain set of values is the third competence within our educational programs. And the fourth one is expression. So how you can stand and give a good talk, how to be convincing, but also how to express yourself in writing or express yourself in art. And this is really the competence of going from the inside to the outside world. Also the competence of creation, of creativity. So these four competences are developed in almost all our educational programs. With also an important notion that since 50% of our education is based on the interests or the needs or the wants of the group, and of course groups differ because there are different individuals, different people with different developmental needs. Our programs are also very diverse. We don't have like one way, this is the golden way, or this is the thing which should always happen in every course that we offer. No, we really try to look at the context and at the persons, and we also try to integrate them in making the education. So I already said about this 50-50 rule, but also from the start that we start to develop a new program, we try to integrate in a cyclical way the feedback and the opinions of the group for who the education later on is meant, or even more for the people who are going to follow that same program. They are the constructors of their own program. And this for us is a very important notion, to have this mix between what we offer and what is asked for. Because sometimes what is asked for is not really the development which is needed. So we also offer context, but a lot of times also the context which is offered doesn't match or the developmental needs of people.